Welcome to Eduimagica, the medical mystery education hub. Today we will learn about the organization of nervous system and a brief introduction about the nervous system. So let's study about the nervous system. What is nervous system? Nervous system is the master of all organ system in a human body, and it is the highly complex part of an animal. It coordinates its action and sensory information by transmitting signals. And we all know that the functional unit of the nervous system is neuron. So now let's study about the structure of the neuron. As we all know that neuron is divided into three parts. We have the axon, we have the soma or the body, and we have the axon terminals. The axon terminal is also known as the telodendria. The body consists of the dendrites, the numerous finger-like projection, and nucleus, whereas the axon consists of the myelin sheath, which is formed by the Schwann cells in peripheral nervous system, and oligodendrocytes in the central nervous system, and in between them we have the nodes of Ranvier. Now let's study about the classification of nervous system. The nervous system is classified into two parts. We have the central nervous system and we have the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is again divided into two parts. We have the brain and the spinal cord. The brain and the spinal cord is placed in the central nervous system because it lies in the sagittal axis, which is present at the center. The brain is again divided into three parts. We have the forebrain, we have the midbrain, and we have the hindbrain. This was all about the central nervous system. Now let's study about the peripheral nervous system. Peripheral nervous system is again divided into two parts. We have the somatic nervous system and we have the autonomic nervous system. The somatic nervous system consists of the afferent and the efferent fibers, whereas the autonomic nervous system consists of the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic is for the emergency and the parasympathetic is for the relaxing. Now let's study about the classification of the brain. As we studied previously, that brain is classified in three parts. We have the prosencephalon, that is the forebrain. Then we have the mesencephalon, that is the midbrain. And we have the rhombencephalon, that is the hindbrain. The forebrain or the prosencephalon is divided into two parts. We have the telencephalon and we have the diencephalon. The telencephalon consists of the cerebral cortex or the cerebral hemisphere, the basal ganglia, the hippocampus, and the amygdaloid nucleus, whereas the diencephalon consists of thalamus, hypothalamus, metathalamus, and the subthalamus. And midbrain forms the mesencephalon, whereas the rhombencephalon or the hindbrain is divided into the metencephalon and the myelencephalon. The metencephalon consists of the pons and the cerebellum, whereas the myelencephalon consists of the medulla oblongata. Now let's study about the organization of nervous system. Here, embryologically, the central nervous system is contributed by the neural tube, whereas the peripheral nervous system is contributed by the neural crest cells. This is the formation by the embryonic stages. Now, this is a very important part. What is gray and white matter? Because a lot of students have confusion in the gray and white matter. So, let's study about the gray and white matter. Here, as we know that neuron is divided into the body and the axon. So, what is gray matter? Gray matter is collection of neuron bodies from the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system, whereas the collection of axons in the central and the peripheral nervous system is the white matter. If you have not subscribed us yet, then do hit the subscribe button. Now, let's study in details. As we all know that gray matter is the collection of neuron bodies in the central and the peripheral nervous system. So the collection of the neuron bodies or the cell bodies in the central nervous system forms the cortex and the nuclei, whereas in the peripheral nervous system forms the ganglion. Please note these terms. And if you talk about the collection of axon, forms the white matter in the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. So in the central nervous system, these collections are known as pathways, that is tract, vesicle, lemniscus, and in the peripheral nervous system is known as nerve. Please note these terms and the classification of that in detail. Now, the white matter is the collection of axon in the central and the peripheral nervous system. So what is the difference between the central and the peripheral nervous system? So the difference is that in the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system, as we all know, that the axon is myelinated, but in the case of the central nervous system, the axon is myelinated by the help of the oligodendrocytes, and in the case of the peripheral nervous system, it is myelinated by the help of the Schwann cell. So now we know the difference between the collection of axon in the central and the peripheral nervous system. Now let's study few words about the basal ganglia. So what is ganglia? As we have studied earlier, that ganglia is the collection of the neuron bodies in the peripheral nervous system, but the basal ganglia is present in the central nervous system and it is a part of central nervous system. So we can say that basal ganglia is a misnomer. So we can call it as basal nuclei. Now let's talk few words about the optic nerve, and same as here, nerve is the collection of the axons in the peripheral nervous system. So what we can assume here, that we all know that retina is the extension of the diencephalon part of the brain and into the eyeball, and the optic nerve is myelinated by the oligodendrocytes, but in the case of the peripheral nervous system, the myelination is through the Schwann cell. So here we can also assume that optic nerve is a misnomer, and please note that here we don't have Schwann cell, so we will not have the regeneration of optic nerve. That's all for today. Thank you for watching a video on organization of nervous system. Please do hit the like button and share with your friends, and if not subscribed yet, then do hit the subscribe button.